Hey guys, that's my gaming here. I already started part 1 of the video series where I want to talk about everything that comes to Konosuba Fantastic Days in 2023, and I just want to continue with that. And that's with the Collab and other banner parts. Again, I already talked about all the units until I think May in one of my other videos, so if you have any questions about them, check out my other video. I think I pretty much talked in depth about every unit, so it's worth checking out. And if you have any other questions, you can ask them in that video or just here down below. So we will just continue with everything after that. And as I said before in the last part, next banner, all of this should be Fes banner. We already talked about that as well. So let's go to the banner after Fes banner, which is a new character. You probably have seen it already, but our next character that we get in Konosuba Fantastic Days will be Lolisa. First up, the art for everyone who wants to see it. Now let's talk about her kit. First up, she has really good ults. Like really good ults. First up, we have her ulti 1, which applies a physical attack buff to yourself and also a speed boost to yourself. And I think she also lowers the speed of the enemy. So it's a self speed boost and slow to all enemies, I think. Her ulti 2 is a physical and magical attack buff with like no slows and speed involved, but this means she can also be a hybrid support. And her ulti 1 is a fire damage ulti. That is also a guaranteed crit, but also takes more gauge to be ready. So she has the potential to do some pretty big nukes versus one target especially. But also just be a good team support, which makes her really versatile and makes her other unit really good. About her kit, she has a tier 1 fire boost to the whole team, which is really good. Also HP condition skill, AoE skill, pretty decent. A second skill is a random hit up to 2 times, so 2 times 444 damage in the skill. And also a small heal to the whole team, which is really valuable. Oh, I think also her ulti 1 version 2 also heals the team. Forgot to say that, I think. And her basic is a pretty normal basic that also heals her a bit. So she has the same attributes as other undead units, like for example Vanir, which means normal light heals like Aqua can't heal her, but her heal can heal other characters like Wiz, like Vanir and stuff like that. So that's pretty good, because that means she's a really good support. She's a new permanent unit, so there's like no need to rush for her. If you have foster tickets by that point or something like that, you can use her, but you can just get her eventually later down the line. There will also be, you know, a 3-star welfare fire Lolisa that you can maybe use and stuff like that to try her out. She's a good unit, don't get me wrong, but she's just a normal OG unit, and there are better units to come. So, not too sure on how high your price should be here. The next one after that should be OG2 Darkness Chris. Why OG2? Because these are like the first units that actually don't give new outfits. I mean, for this Darkness, I think you just get the Life 2D model from Darkness without her armor, which is nice, I guess, but like nothing too crazy. But you can see in this picture they both have their like normal outfits on. So for Chris, there's literally no outfit as a 4-star character, which is kind of weird. They just look normal. That's why OG2. And these are pretty weird units. Like, they don't have a bad kit per se on paper, but for Electro there's simply no place, to be honest. Because likely after that we should get our Railgun collab with better light units, and yeah, that just pushed them to like a slot 4 unit where they can do some pretty good stuff, but it's most of the time like not they are hardly needed or anything. In case of Darkness, CDR skill, always good to maybe get that last bit of skills in rotation in. She also has a water damage block, which can come in handy, but most of the time it's like not that good. But she was used like once or twice as slot 4 unit. Chris is like a little bit more interesting because she has a self boot, I think it was, and also a small gacha for the team, so she can also help the team to get like one last ulti in when she comes in and stuff like that. So they have potential, but again, they are only slot 4 units, so like not worth to pull. After that, we already get our next limited, which is School Part 2. And here we come to a little bit of a trend that happens a lot in JP, which is dropping units that are good for like 1 or 2 arenas and then just fall off after because they just get replaced by better units. And that's pretty much what happened to Rin and Cielo. On paper, Rin seems really good. She has a tier 2 speed boost for the whole team. She has a random hit that actually deals 168 damage 2 times, so that's like a 336 336, that's right, percent damage skill, which is really good. The problem here is she doesn't have any kind of light ults, and by that point, off element units ults get probably replaced. So we actually, the one time I used her, I just never used her ulti and just used basic because basics did more damage and we already had Yunyun as the buffer, so there was no point in using her ulti, which is kind of weird. But she was good for 1 or 2 arenas. After that, she just got replaced because we have other light units that are better, to be honest. Like, if there's no Phys Cuck and we can't run Iris by that point, we will use her, I guess, for mages. But again, there aren't that many purely mage light arenas. It's mostly like physical and stuff like that. And the moment we actually get more light arenas, we just have Aura as our speed supplier with new Ulti 2 version 2. This is, by the way, 2024 stuff that I talk about here, but just to give you a heads up, they will be good for like 1 or 2 arenas. After that, they're pretty much gone. Same with Cielo, and where she is there. She has a tier 1 light damage buff to the team, HP condition skill that heals, normal basic, good enough on paper with Ulti 2, to be honest, but like, there are better units out there, and she's like only good in specific conditions. After school, we get Theater Banner, which is Theater Cecily, where she is, there. Also a new trend to start here is dropping new Cecily units with new kind of skills. Like, the Cecily before that was no Cecily, which is, or was the first elemental buff unit in the game, at least in JP. Not sure how it is in global 100%, because you know they can change stuff, but in theory she should be the first one. This one will be the first unit that actually consumes Gauge to do damage. Or like, well, in global it's the second because Valentine's Comico should drop first, but yeah, she consumes Gauge to do more damage, which is really good because her ultis don't do much in that case. Like, you can't buff, but Chris is there. You can speed boost, but Chris is there. You normally don't want to use her ulti, so he's mostly a unit to, you know, use that one skill, hopefully crit of it, do a big nuke, and besides that, just heal and CDR with a second skill, and then just basic until you have enough Gauge and the skill is ready, so you can just use the nuke another time. Second unit on this banner is Vanir. Where it is? There it is, Theater Vanir. He's an electro unit. He has Reshrit, which in theory seems good. But then again, we have Meru as a Reshrit unit, so the only time we actually use him if it's like a real Phys Cuck. And even then we used Meru as a replacement, or still not as a replacement, but we still used Meru for the speed boost, which was really valuable. So he might have his 1 or 2 arenas where you can actually use him and he's maybe better than Meru, but it's probably not worth it. Same with, by the way, Cecily. She's good for like 1 or 2 arenas. After that we get Arabian Union, which is just a better Cecily, and then she's dead again. So as I said, a tradition with bringing new units in for like 1 or 2 arenas and then they're gone. Same with the next banner, which should be Mate 4, which is Mate Miru and Dust. She has a random hit in a debuff block, because in this case the boss actually did the debuff and it was before Second Annie, so we didn't have Megu yet. So you used her to debuff block and then just do damage. Nothing too crazy in that regard. Also, her ulti 2 is not the best. It's okay, but like not good. So you probably still rather run her ulti 1 version 2 for the speed boost. It's probably more worth it. The other one is Dust. Did I skip Dust? I skipped Dust. I'm sorry, Dust. I skipped you, but yeah, Battle Dust. He has a team. Actually, a team dark damage boost, which seems good on paper. But he also has a gacha consumable skill. There is no place in the front line for him, sadly. Or you can use him with Miru in the front line, I guess. But his best case is probably like a slot 4 unit with like come in, do both skills with the cooldown reduction skill, critting, doing damage, and that's it. But then again, we have Valentine's Kamiko for that. She's just better there, and you probably also want to run Valentine's Kamiko anyway, thanks to her team passive trait, so it's hard to use them. Like, again, they were used for like 1 or 2 arenas, and after that, they're gone. Next one should be the Railgun collab, actually a big one. I will probably make another video when it actually gets announced and is soon to drop. But to give you a quick rundown, Megu Railgun collab is really good. She has a team gacha, but only a small one, so not that crazy, but still gacha for the team is really good, which pretty much allows her to just ult once we hit the boss wave and let the other units ult after that. Also tier 3 magic attack buff for herself with guard condition, HP condition, sorry. So she can apply a big explosion, but again, at that point, off-element stuff gets reduced, so the explosion damage doesn't matter that much. And that's the funny thing about this Megu. She will get really good once her ulti 2 version 2 drops. So her ulti 2 version 2 is a tier 3 Reshred, which is really, really good, because, you know, Reshred is such a broken skill, so a tier 3 is better than a tier 2, logically, and you really want that. And thanks to her own gacha, you can get her ulti 2 version 2 off rather quick, I guess. But it also makes it that you don't use her in Electro at all. Like, we have Miru there as a tier 2 Reshred unit, and it's just not worth it to run this Megu there, because it's such big damage loss to remove the gacha from either Cielo, Miru, or Misaka, that you only use her off element to apply the Reshred, which is kind of funny to me that one Electro Foster Megu we get is bad in Electro. But yeah, she's also, I think, part 1 unit together with 2 collab characters. So let's go down to these. First up is Misaka. Misaka is the must pull 100%. She has a tier 2 speed boost for the whole team. She has a tier 3 self attack boost on an AoE skill, so she can buff herself with pretty much everything you want besides Gotcha and CDR. And her big thing is the ulti, which is a guaranteed crit with 390% damage. I think it also takes a little bit more Gotch to ult, but it's still pretty reliable. It's pretty big nukes, especially with later Fang Quest buff and stuff like that. It's really, really good. And I mean, you all know Megu explosion crits. Just imagine that, but with Misaka, and you don't faint after it. It's really amazing. So she's pretty much the best light unit we have. She will replace Fes Kazuma 100%. She kind of competes a little bit with School Union. Like, we had 1 or 2 arenas where you can actually use School Union to great success, or even better than her. But I think at the moment just everyone runs Misaka until we get another really good Electro unit. Maybe a new Electro Union, please, please. I'll love that. The other one is Kuroko. She will be the replacement to... She will be a temporary replacement to Swimsuit Erika. First up, she has a really interesting kit. AoE ulti that applies a tier 2 speed boost, so she will be a T speed boost. The first skill is a small CDR, or a water skill, so also really good. And the second skill is the interesting one here. This is a tier 3 evasion buff for the whole team with a counter. And this is the only special counter we have so far in the game, which acts differently depending on if your unit gets hit or not. If your unit dodges the attack, the enemy will take water damage. which then of course gets affected by water damage boost or by rash threat or anything like that. If your unit gets hit, it counts as normal damage to the enemy. So it will never be like resisted or anything like that, unless you run an off element. But this just means you need to get lucky that you don't get hit, because the more you don't get hit, the more water damage you actually apply to the enemy, and the higher your damage score will be, which is really interesting. But yeah, she will be used until, I think, Swimsuit Lolisa. Yeah, I think Swimsuit Lolisa will be her end. Not 100% sure which one actually replaced her, but she will be used for a while. But worst case, in max half a year, she will be replaced. Not gonna lie. So still good, still nice to have, but like not that OP versus Misaka. Then we come to the part 2 units. The first one is one unit I already talked about before, a new Earth Union, Collab Union. Here's the art real quick. First up, tier 2 speed boost to the whole team, which is really good for mage teams, and also a lightning damage reduction skill. Also pretty good, because in the mage team we don't have much healing. We normally run Konosuba Melissa with her ulti 2 as a healer. So every damage reduction there actually matters and is important. But then again, there's also the physical team that you can run on Earth at that point, which is with... where it is? Accelerator. Another really selfish unit. First up, is a pretty good ult because it gives a high CDR to the whole team after you use it. So 8 seconds, I think it was. Also, big nuke that if it crits deals a lot of damage. Same with the single target skill, 257% damage is insane. If that thing crits with like rash threats and other buffs, it's big numbers. Like I saw someone with 100k crits or something like that with that skill alone, which was before fame buffs and anything, so pretty wild. Also, he has a earth damage boost for himself, and he has a basic that applies a counter to him. But this is a normal counter, so just if he gets hit, a small damage will be reflected to the boss. But it's still nice to have, I guess. The big one here is elemental basic attack, so that helps a lot. And you know, the CDR helps with spamming other skills. That's also the point when he drops where Rin Cielo will be good, because she synergizes really well with him. Like first up, she can apply heal, she will be the speed boost provider, and she can also buff team with physical attack. And then Rin Melissa can use her ulti 1 to lower the enemies physical resistance, and then Accelerator can just go ham and do the big crazy nuke damage stuff.